Chanel, a revolution in women's fashion. Chanel, a name of conveyed prestige, quality, impeccable taste, and unmistakable style. The woman behind the name, Coco Chanel, captured and mentored the world on what she thought was chic and what she believed encompassed and properly fit the modern woman. Biographer Richard Klein agrees that the tyranny of her taste was liberating. Chanel had strict rules for fashion, just as Hitler put forth strict rules in Nazi Germany. But unlike Hitler or any other dictatorial leader, Chanel's rules were liberating. Known for her feistiness, perfectionism, and rebellious attitude, this exterminating angel of fashion rid women of the clothes that had confined them in the house for so long. Growing up into a life of poverty, Chanel built herself from nothing and achieved unimaginable riches. She may have relied on men for her start, but very quickly, Coco became an independent woman and entrepreneur. As a leading example for women, Chanel told them that they too can become successful. They too can have a job and not have to rely on a man. She also taught them that clothes are only fashionable if they are comfortable. Without comfort, true elegance could never be achieved. Although her big break was in the roaring 20s, her comeback in the 1950s and modern clothing continued to be on top of haute couture. Coco Chanel revolutionized the fashion world and liberated women from the tight grip of both society and their corsets while creating a sophisticated and timeless look that fit countless generations of females. Gabrielle Chanel was born on August 19, 1883 in Saumur, France. Her father, Albert Chanel, was a nomadic peddler. Her mother, Jeanne Develle, died when Chanel was 12. Albert, a strong drinker, was not willing to take responsibility of his kids. Chanel and her sisters were sent to an orphanage in Aubusine, where they were educated by nuns. Growing up in the convent, Gabrielle learned to sew with great skill, and she learned the art of millinery. This sense of poverty would embarrass and haunt Chanel for the rest of her life. Nonetheless, it is believed to be a driving force in her path to success. Coco often said, "If you were born without wings, do nothing to prevent their growing." At 18, Gabrielle left the convent and moved to Moulins, where she worked as a seamstress in a shop. She became immersed in the nightlife there and also took up singing in cafes. It was here that she met Etienne Balsan, a soldier and rich bachelor, in 1906. Chanel moved to his estate and became his mistress. In 1909, she left him for a rich English businessman and polo player, Boy Capel. Chanel referred to him as the great luck of my life. He formed me. He knew how to develop in me what was unique. Chanel loved Boy greatly because, unlike Balsan, he strongly believed in Chanel's skills. He was the one who gave Chanel her real start in 1919 in the famed shop Maison Chanel, or the House of Chanel, at 31 Rue Cambon. Joining Boy on his trips to the popular horse races, Chanel flaunted her new designs and style ideologies. First off, she had strong feelings of resentment toward the huge hats popular at the time. She often asked herself, how can the brain function in those things? Chanel then invented her own hats. Another day she was cold and grabbed one of Boy's old jerseys. Adding her own feminine touches to it, she created a fashionable but comfortable garment. The material this jersey was made from was commonly used to create men's underwear at the time. Chanel recalls, "People laughed at the way I dressed, but that was the secret of my success. I didn't look like anyone." Although people were very shocked at Chanel's choice of fabric, the public opinion soon shifted. Women flocked to Maison Chanel to get their own jersey like Coco's. She would later say, "My fortune was found on that old jersey just because I was so cold in Deauville." Chanel's name in fashion had grown dramatically. She was selling luxury hats and clothes to the women of the upper class at exorbitant prices. In 1916, she released her first real collection called La Pauvreté de Luxe, or The Poverty of the Rich, by rival fashion designer Paul Poiret, who she later made go out of business. Soon she was able to make enough money to pay Boy back. This was very important to her because Coco strived to be an independent and self-sufficient woman, never owing anything to a man. His death in a car accident on December 22, 1919 would forever leave a hole in her heart. It was then that Chanel started working at full blast. She began by rebelling against the awful corsets and huge dresses and would later go on to reform the whole fashion world. By bending the rules of the fashion world to fit her classy and comfortable taste in clothes, Chanel was able to liberate the 20th century woman. Coco often said, "I invented my life by taking for granted that everything I did not like would happen opposite which I would like." Chanel was all about keeping it simple. She said, "Simplicity is the keynote of all true elegance." Looking back at the past, she saw that women's fashion was always about big, extravagant dresses with great detail. Although they may have looked nice, they were surely not comfortable and did not allow for much, if not any, movement. The press and other fashion designers may have highly criticized Chanel's fashion, but women loved it. They loved the fact that they are free to live, free to move, and free to breathe. Women who wore Chanel were young girls, mothers, wives, and workers. They needed clothes that allowed them to perform what they needed to do during the day, and at night when they wanted to go out, dance, and have fun, Chanel's clothes didn't keep them constrained, a very revolutionary aspect to the world of women's fashion.
Quand je travaille, je regarde une robe et je me dis, est-ce que tu porterais ça? Quand je me dis non, je ne le porterai pas, alors je fais pas.
Chanel's fashions didn't just revolutionize women's clothing, but it also revolutionized the way women saw themselves and their mentality. They learned that they had the ability to do so much more than what society had planned out for them. Coco said, "Elegance is not the prerogative of those who have just escaped from adolescence, but of those who have already taken possession of their future." During the early 1900s, a girl's fate depended on what her father, brother, or husband chose for her. For Chanel to say something like this was completely unheard of. She was telling women to seize their own future for themselves, dress for themselves, and to follow their own dreams. Chanel wanted the wearer to be what shined. She did this to allow women to build their confidence and fit into their rightful place in society. Chanel told people to look for the woman in the dress. If there is no woman, there is no dress. The corsets and other garments of the early 20th century took hours to put on and squeezed women's waists to unbelievable sizes. But why? Chanel made women question why they went through such great pain and discomfort to please men in the rules of society. When asked about elegance, Chanel said,
Maintenant, c'est pas nécessaire d'être élégant, il s'agit surtout d'étonner les gens. Je n'étonne personne. Parce que tout le monde sait bien que c'est pas chez moi qu'il faut trouver de l'excentricité. Je crois que les femmes, plus elles sont féminines, plus elles sont valables. Et je crois que leur carrière actuelle est finie si elles continuent ce qu'elles font, parce que c'est simplement des choses pour amuser les gens.
Chanel was angry towards the mostly male fashion designers of the time. She frequently questioned their authority in dressing women because they would never be wearing the clothes they designed. Therefore, they would never be squished and squeezed to unbelievable proportions. The flapper movement of the 1920s gave birth to a new generation of fun-loving women who just wanted to go out and party. The women of the 20s were known to do the complete opposite of women of the past decade. First, they trashed the corset for good. Next, they lost the long and greatly modest dresses for skirts that showed their legs and allowed them to dance.
C'était quelque chose qui changeait, c'était moi qui changeais, c'était pas la mode. C'était moi qui étais à la mode.
Coco Chanel's clothes made women feel young and comfortable. They made women feel that they, like men, could go out and do something to make a difference in the world. After being forced to follow such strict rules of dress before, women didn't hesitate to take up Chanel's modern look. As Chanel left her past male rivals in the industry bankrupt, the world learned that a queen of fashion was born. Coco Chanel reformed style to fit the ever-changing roles of women. When Chanel got her start in the world of fashion, World War I was going on. Women's roles had changed greatly. Women couldn't use a lot of fabric because it was needed for soldiers. Because the majority of France's men were off fighting, women had to take up their jobs. To do these jobs required garments that enabled movement and did not pose as a safety hazard. Chanel provided them with just that. Unlike other fashion designers of her time, Coco Chanel reformed her look to fit every decade, allowing for a style that has transcended over time and is still in style today. Chanel herself said, "Fashion is made to become unfashionable." She knew she couldn't just stick with one look or one collection. Fashion is constantly changing, and it is the responsibility of the designer to keep up. Unlike many other couturiers who just went with the flow of the style of the time, Coco completely revolutionized the industry and made it her own. Innovation. One cannot be forever innovating. I want to create classics.
But for her, who tried in the beginning to make a kind of revolution, became the most classic person in the world because she insisted on concept forever, but repeating the same stuff for the last 10 years, created an image what can be used still today, but updated. You can take ideas from her mood, from her invention, from her concept, but don't get into respect. Forget about the past, do it the way it's done today.
The impact of Coco Chanel's revolution on the modern woman is drastic. If it wasn't for Chanel's rebellion against the strict and ridiculous rules set for women by society, women would not have gotten this far in the fight for equal rights. Coco dictated that women should make their own choices when it came to picking what to wear. She told them not to follow unflattering trends that didn't suit them. Every day is a fashion show and the world is the runway. This means that you don't have to be a model on the runway to feel beautiful. You can go out anywhere in the world and make it your own runway. Perhaps start your own fashion show, set your own styles, and make your own impact, just as Coco Chanel did in her fashion revolution. After a 5-decade reign over fashion, Coco Chanel died on January 10, 1971, at the age of 88. This drawing by the head of the House of Chanel today, Karl Lagerfeld, portrays a smiling Chanel on her deathbed. "I am not dead, I am only sleeping, I am immortal." Of her taste was liberating. Chanel had strict rules for fashion, just as Hitler put forth strict rules in Nazi Germany. But unlike Hitler or any other dictatorial leader, Chanel's rules were liberating. Known for her feistiness, perfectionism, and rebellious attitude, this exterminating angel of fashion rid women of the clothes that had confined them in the house for so long. Growing up into a life of poverty, Chanel built herself from nothing and achieved unimaginable riches. Chanel, a revolution in women's fashion. Chanel, a name of conveyed prestige, quality, impeccable taste, and unmistakable style. The woman behind the name, Coco Chanel, captured and mentored the world on what she thought was chic and what she believed encompassed and properly fit the modern woman. Biographer Richard Klein agrees that she may have relied on men for her start, but very quickly, Coco became an independent woman and entrepreneur. As a leading example for women, Chanel told them that they too can become successful. They too can have a job and not have to rely on a man. She also taught them that clothes are only fashionable if they are comfortable. Without comfort, true elegance could never be achieved. Although her big break was in the roaring 20s, her comeback in the 1950s and modern clothing continued to be on top of haute couture.